The United States, love it or hate it, you know where it is. And even if you don't live in it, you know that it has a constitution. Maybe you even know one of its amendments or how it starts. And in most other countries, there is also a constitution. Because, you know, it's helpful to know what red lines the state can cross. But something that most people don't know is that states have their own little constitutions. Unless you're Alabama, in which case your constitution will be around 850 pages long. Nice. The United States isn't the only place where autonomous zones have their own constitutions, however. In Spain's autonomous communities, we also have our own little constitutions. But people might get mad at or ask questions if we name them constitutions, so instead we call them Estatutos de Autonomía, but in practice they are local constitutions. And of course, the place where I live, which if you haven't realized by now is Galicia, has its own. However, reading law is boring, so a lot of people don't read it, even if it's important. And that's why today I will tell you everything that this 25-page long document says, because you have rights, and you should know them. If you don't live in Galicia, this leaves me kinda in an awkward situation, but don't worry, I'll make this as entertaining as possible, trust me. Before we start, a quick disclaimer. This video is the first part of a trilogy where I tell you what the Galician Autonomy Statute, the Spanish Constitution, and the never ratified European Constitution say, so maybe you may want to check those if you're interested. If they are out when you watch this video, of course. And if they aren't, subscribe and stick around till they are. Let's start from the beginning. The first article states that Galicia is indeed an autonomous community, while the second defines the provinces that conform it. The third establishes who benefits from Galician citizenship, and the fourth says that the Galician people do indeed have rights. Article 5 is a bit special as it establishes Galician as Galicia's official language, alongside Spanish, saying also that every Galician has a right to know and use Galician without being discriminated against by that fact. Article 6 is about Galician symbols, and Article 7 gives the Galician Parliament the power of recognizing the citizenship of a foreign Galician community, something very important for a group of people where a fifth of its people live abroad. Article 8 is about where the Galician capital is located, and it basically says that wherever the parliament chooses law. Article 9 establishes our own local government, while saying that said government needs to respect the Spanish constitution as well as the Autonomy Statute. Article 10 establishes the powers of the Galician parliament, some of them being make laws, control the budget, designate the senators to the Spanish Senate, designate the president of the local government, or be responsible if they break the constitution. This article also says that the Galician parliament has diplomatic immunity. Article 11 is about how we choose our parliamentarians and also specifies that diplomatic immunity can be revoked if a representative is found while in evident situation of committing a crime. Article 12 says the Parliament makes the Parliament rules, and Article 13 says that the parliamentarians are the ones that have the duty to make the laws, but that they are approved in the name of the king. Yes, we have a king in Spain, because, in case you didn't know, we are a kingdom. Article 14 says that there should be someone that looks after Galicians' rights. Article 15 states the rights and duties of the local president, while Article 16 establishes who else makes up the local government, and who says who forms part of the government, in this case the local president. Article 17 says that in case that the president is replaced, kicked, resigns, or dies, an acting government will be put in place, like the one we have right now, and will continue to take all of the government duties till the next president is enacted by the parliament. Article 18 states that the president and other members of government also have diplomatic immunity, while Article 19 says that they have the right to represent the government in court. The next few articles are about judicial power. 20 says that it is the duty of the community to establish judicial areas, 21 that the community has its own Supreme Court, 22 the duties of the local judges, 23 who the local supreme judges are, 24 that local justice positions are assigned by public exams. Article 25 says that people that know Galician have an advantage at becoming judges over those who don't, and 26 that notaries are appointed by the local government. Article 27 is a long one as it establishes all the things that the Galician government has exclusive powers over, and that the Spanish government can't interfere with, some of them being county organization, urban legislature, public works, like an aqueduct, that are relevant to the whole nation and that don't affect other autonomous communities, roads and rail tracks that aren't part of national projects and that don't affect other communities, ports, airports, and hydroports, unless that, they were of national interest. This article also includes forest ownership, dams, electricity, water, fishing, fairs. It just says crafts, historical monuments, culture, Galician, tourism, sports, social assistance, development, local police, casinos, environment, ads, and everything else that the Spanish government says is a matter of the local government. Article 28 is kinda like 27, but instead of saying that these things are only a matter of the Galician government, it says that the central government can also create its own laws, and that the Galician parliament can add on them. Things included in this article are justice administration, expropriations, mining, monopoly cracking, fishing administration, fishing ports, pharmacies, etc. Article 29 says that these things will be legislated by the central government, but that the Galician Xunta, that's how our government is called by the way, has the duty to apply the law. These things being labor, industry, maritime rescue, industrial contamination, and everything else that the Spanish government decides isn't important enough for them. Article 30 gives Galicia some autonomy over their economy, while 31 delegates the education administration on us. Article 32 says that it is the duty of the government to defend Galician cultural values, but this article is, more often than not, ignored. Article 33 says that health, social security, and pharmaceutical regulations are all on us. Article 34 says that it is a duty of the Galician government to have a local radio, TV or newspaper media to ensure all of its goals. This, combined with some of the articles we've seen before, ensures that there is an official Galician broadcasting channel which, believe it or not, is of great help in ensuring that the Galician language doesn't completely disappear. Remember all of the things that the local government couldn't do if it affected other governments? Well, Article 35 says that we are allowed to do it if we get their permission. And Article 36 states that the community has the right to ask the central government for more competencies that are recognized in this constitution. Article 37 says that the local government only has power in Galicia, while Article 38 says that Galician law has higher priority on all of the matters recognized in Article 27, and should there not exist laws on those matters, Spanish law will be adopted as our own. Article 39 says that it is the duty of the local government to create its own administration. Article 40 is very special as it recognizes that comarcas exist and are a valid form of organization. A comarca was historically the piece of land that corresponded to a church, but as history went on, they became a fundamental part of Galician administration. Today, thanks to this article, Galician counties, called concellos, are divided in even smaller administrations, called comarcas. Article 41 says that the Galician government will use Galician institutions to use its Galician powers. Article 42 states that Galicia has its own treasury, and 43 states what things form part of that treasury, and 44 what things can the government make to enlarge that treasury. Article 45 says that Spain can take our money whenever it feels like it. Nice. Article 46 states some taxes that must be renegotiated every 5 years, while 47 allows the local government to take on debt of its own. Article 48 says that even if Spain pays for our things, we still have the right to say how they will be done. 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, and 55 are all about Galician autonomy with its money, how we can spend it, who regulates the spending, what happens when we run out of money. Article 56 says that to reform the constitution the following must be done. The reform can only be proposed by the local parliament, the local president or the Spanish courts. To approve the reform, it will first need to be approved by 2/3 of the Galician parliament, the Spanish courts, and finally to be approved in a referendum. Should this reform not be approved, and a new one can be proposed until a year has passed since the last one. And finally, Article 57 says that if the reform is minor and doesn't affect the relations of the local government with the central government, it can be approved by simply having a majority in the local and national parliaments. And that was it, the whole Galician constitution. Now I know that you may be wondering, wow, that gives a lot of power to the Galician government. What will happen if the local administration decided to stop complaining to Spanish orders? Well, the book that we will be talking about next has some answers to that, but you will need to wait for the next video to see it. Before we end, I would like to thank this video sponsor, me. If you made it this far into the video, it wouldn't be that crazy to think that you are either Galician or interested in Galician culture. And if that is the case, let me recommend to you my Galician book. It is a short poetry book, perfect if you want to get started in Galician literature, and it's also cheap. So maybe give it a go. Nothing more from my part. See you next month with a way longer legal document. Like, subscribe, and all of that. Picos!